Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the German coverage of the Sinquefield Cup 2019, where we are now bringing in a gentleman that is not Steve Berger, that is eight-time Russian champion, Super Grandmaster, and I should have thought of a better introduction. Peter Svidler is here. Peter, how are you doing?
Yeah, guten Abend.
Boom, there you go.
Yeah, that's my one prepared quote-unquote joke for the day. I'm okay-ish, but kind of sleep deprived. Alive I am, but slightly more alive than I thought 1 hour in, because today's round is quite lively, seemingly.
Yeah, they're not playing the Gioco Piano every game.
Yeah, I mean, we most likely will have one game disappear pretty soon, but 5 out of 6 ain't bad.
You're talking about Sergei Kayakin, I'm assuming?
Yeah, it seems like either he got surprised in the opening or he just wasn't feeling particularly ambitious today. But yeah, I can't see how the d5 pawn survives, and then it really shouldn't be that difficult to hold. Although maybe rook f d1 and then rook ac1. But yeah, I mean, we probably should be discussing this game last if we are discussing games.
We could also start with it to get you into hot water as quickly as possible, because I was just arguing that on a per move basis, Kayakin might be the best paid player in the Grand Chess Tour.
Yeah, yeah, it was once again, it's a topic which is somewhat controversial, but apart from the round one game against Shach, which by this point is like a wide.
Yeah, that seems like sort of established that they make the quick draw and no one protests too much, right?
Yeah, and apart from that, he also played that game against Jan, and if I remember correctly, their normal dynamic is they play against each other. They almost never, in my memory, have not played a full-blooded game.
Yeah, that was a bit of a surprise, but yeah, from the way that game went with a pretty repetition in the end, it felt like, well, we've been to such places before, right?
Yeah, and then I saw at first, you know, it was kind of funny because Jan was thinking prior to playing a7, a5, and I was watching with the engine on, and it suddenly said a5, knight h4, bishop e6, knight f3, strictly best moves in the position, and I thought, uh-oh. And then after a5, knight h4, he played bishop d7, and knight f3 is still, I think, the best move in the position according to the machine. And that wasn't played, and I thought to myself, okay, I'm vindicated. They never, they always play. And then the knight b5, knight a7 thing happens. So, yeah.
Sorry, I just needed a second to find the game. So you mean a5 here, yeah?
Yeah, a5 where Jan actually played a5 is absolutely the machine's first choice, and the machine immediately says, if you don't play knight h4 here, you're worse. And if black replies to knight h4 with bishop e6, you actually are supposed to play knight f3.
Right.
And this is where I started thinking this game might not be long for this world.
Yeah, anyway.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter.
It's not really breaking news that, yeah, Kayakin tends to be more ambitious when it comes to knockout tournaments or the candidates tournament than he has been in the sort of regular circuit. And yeah, things haven't been going too badly for him. So, shall we jump into the game that's looked, at least superficially, the most fun today? Can you enlighten us what's happening in this Fabi MVL game?
Yeah, I have no idea, but it's one of those, I think it must look extremely weird from the outside, but there is this kind of a hive mind in action these days, right? You know what I'm talking about. When top players armed with very similar or exactly the same machines are looking at topical things, and they will end up getting to very, very similar or exactly the same answers. Because like there's no way you blitz out 20 moves in this position unless they both got to this position 2 exchanges down, and you have to suspect they kind of disagreed about the assessment of the position, because they both seemed pretty happy about it. But unless I'm missing something and it's all some kind of weird theory, which I severely doubt. Like I haven't looked at the database, but I would be shocked if this actually happened before.
I have looked, and this has happened actually until King H2, and Rook G8 was a novelty. There was Bishop H7 has been played.
Then it's less weird, yeah. And Jean-Noël Rief, I think, is maybe part of the entourage a little bit. It's not impossible. I think I've seen him with sort of MVL-related people in Biel and places like that. So maybe it's some kind of French super weapon, this line. But yeah, this is a very exciting position to discuss. But I want to preface it by saying I have no idea what's going on. I would probably pick white because white's pieces cost more. But I also understand it's slightly superficial to assess positions like this.
I just briefly switched on the engine just to get a feel. The engine gives white a significant advantage. It says 166, which sort of would explain why Fabi went for this. But over the board against Maxime, Bishop H6, Bishop F4 is looming. You could get scared, no?
Yeah, for sure. And I think, once again, judging by the timings, everything up to C4 has been absolutely smashed onto the board. And my guess is C4 may have been missed or underestimated by the French squad, and MVL burned half an hour on Queen H4, and now Fabi is thinking, which also kind of implies that Queen H4 is not the engine's top 3, which is always, we've discussed this. This is always kind of good news, bad news situation, because on the one hand, Fabi is now thinking, but on the other, if Fabi is thinking, you're happy, but you also know you haven't played what the machine suggests as your best option. So, yeah, weird dynamic. And also, like, if you get to this position after Bishop G5, Queen G5, how can you get to different engine answers? There is my
Dr. Engine over here, at least the Stockfish that I'm running, which is not very strong, it gives C4 as the top line with a bit of a difference even. So it says C4 is clearly the #1 move. And then it says, actually I'll give you 3 tries to guess the move after C4. Hang on, let me put C4 on the board.
Yeah, 3 tries, yeah?
Yeah, that sounds fair.
Yeah, it does sound fair. So I'll go with a collection of D5, King E7, and King D7.
Boom! It's in there.
I honestly don't know which one, but
King D7 by far #1 move.
Yeah, I can sort of believe that, because I think Rook B4 might be a serious idea in some of these positions, because the one problem white has here is that the Rook on A4 is like C4. My guess is, like, if I wanted to offer some absolutely ridiculous psychobabble explanation for why C4 could have been missed, is that you look at ways to play with both of your rooks in this position. You want to keep the Rook on A4 participating, hitting the pawn on E4 in variations, playing Rook, I don't know, Rook C4, Rook C8 check somewhere. And by playing C4, you say, yeah, okay, this Rook is now kind of dead-ish. But it does have the Rook B4 idea. And King D7, we are preparing to play King C somewhere. I don't know, 7 after Rook B4, and Rook B4 becomes empty. But yeah, slightly strange, but also, one of the weirder positions we've seen recently, and I like weird positions, so I'm very happy. In particular, since I don't have to play it, I can watch and talk about it. It's the most comfortable situation there is.
Right. Hang on, I'm rudely typing on my phone because I'm requesting a camera change, because we've had some issues with the cams today. And as much as I appreciate Fabi switching from this checkered shirt that I've talked a lot of crap about over the years to a white shirt. We need some MC Naka in our life.
Yeah. What do you think about this position? Because I don't know, it looks quite kind of attractive for white from you know, at first glance, and then you start thinking, okay, now all of your pieces are sort of completely optimized, and will you ever have an active plan?
Actually, I might have been telling tales out of school earlier, because I wasn't exactly sure. I was sure I've seen this position, or at least something very close to this position before, and I wasn't sure if it was in a game or on a board. But no matter where I've seen it, I do recall that the assessment was its dynamic equality. White's position looks very nice, but there's not all that much you can do, and for black it also seemed hard to come up with a plan. And if you run a computer, it gives very random long maneuverings followed by 0-0 or whatever. It might give 0-30, but it doesn't really get anywhere. So that's what I thought.
That's what I figured, because yeah, it's very, very difficult to suggest a productive plan for actually either side. And I quite like the move Hikaru made, because after Rook F2, Rook F1, he now played Queen E1 just very recently. And that kind of suggests the queen is headed towards C3, I guess, via the corner. This probably doesn't do much anyway, but at least it maybe frees up your D2 knight to go somewhere, because otherwise you can never really touch the knight on D2. Allowing bishop takes C4, you know, looks completely ridiculous. You generally don't want to do that. But still, like, you get the queen to C3, black plays queen C7, you play knight F3, black somehow parries the idea of knight G5 by playing, I don't know, F6 even. You probably aren't very happy about playing F6, but you can. And then you once again ask the question, do you have any actual constructive ideas there, sir? And I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah, I would assume Magnus is not too thrilled, even if he thinks the position is fine, because it looks like it's a very hard to win position, and he must be itching a bit to create some winning chances after all these draws, no?
Must be. Once again, you are the resident expert on this topic in this in this show, but kind of
boom, that's better. I didn't dare to ask, but yeah, that's even nicer. Full head of hair. Yeah, better.
Slightly better this way. I wasn't watching the stream to preserve bandwidth, so I wasn't sure how I... Yeah, that's worse again.
Perfect.
Yeah, now I can... now I can pause and forget about it for forevermore. But then I won't see what your what positions you put on the board. Anyway, yeah, I think either Hikaru is, like, you want to credit him with sort of particularly you know, devious little plan for the day, but I suspect he's just fine with having a very safe position. But if you wanted to go down that particular slight conspiracy theory, you could say playing something like this against Magnus in this round in particular is an interesting choice to play for a win. Because
Magnus might bring the action when it's not warranted.
Magnus will might actually decide that shuffling forever and making a draw is just completely unacceptable for the sixth game in a row, and he might just break something up in the center, and then black's position might collapse. Who knows? But I suspect that Hikaru in his current incarnation is just not very bothered. He's fine playing on for a bit. If it's a draw, it's a draw. I don't think, you know, too much of this weird reverse psychology is figuring into his decisions here.
Yeah, I think I agree, but it might still help his case, even if he just thought, okay, this is an interesting line, white is safe, and let's take it from there.
Yeah. I mean, it might just be a bit of both, as it often is in these cases. But yeah, Magnus, I mean, the one breaking idea he does have is to play F5 in some position, but it does feel incredibly risky strategically, because it will create targets for white to potentially play against. In particular, with the queen on C3, take on f5, hope I don't lose to e5, e4. Then I will put the second pawn on e4, and then I will play knight f3. And the pawn on e5 will actually become weak, and will not really have any, pawn defenders left in the position. So.
Yeah, just manufacturing some line to show what you've been talking about.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, if something like this happens, you could actually become significantly worse with black, I think, or not, depending obviously on where the pieces are. And actually, in that line you showed, e5, e4 may be quite strong actually. In the one small moment where it was a legal move. Oh no, hang on, f6 is just winning. What am I talking about?
Right. I want to talk about a topic that's probably closer to my heart than yours, but still, if you can see the camera, do you agree that Magnus might have superhuman hair growth abilities? Because it felt to me like he had normal hair at the start of the tournament, and now a couple days in, like he once again has grown something amazing on his head.
No, I think it's just the use of products. Honestly, I'm not sure this is like significantly different hair. I just think that occasionally he just decides to do something with it and blow dry it from a random direction or whatever, and then you get startling results. I've been there, so I never get results as spectacular as this, but it is possible to just kind of apply the blow dryer from a weird 47-degree angle from the left, and then you look at yourself and you think, this wasn't there before.
Yeah, I've seen him do this before, but I'm still always very impressed, and I prefer my theory that he might be a soup, with the superpower being extreme overnight hair growth.
Yeah, that is a more attractive theory, obviously. I understand mine is a bit boring. Mm-hmm. I also like the usage of the word soup.
Yeah, I finished The Boys the other night, which was good, I have to say. I wasn't fully bought in, but yeah, we talked about it. I think you recommended it. Did you finish it?
Yeah, I finished it some time ago. Not weeks ago, but some time ago, yeah.
No, I think fairly entertaining, no? Recommendation.
Yeah, it's of the things I've seen recently, it's definitely something you will not regret watching. It's not gonna make the all-time top 5 list, but it's a very, very enjoyable waste of time.
There you go, The Boys. Have you seen Jan Nepomuc's position recently? What's going on here?
Let me check. Hang on a second.
Because I thought it was equal like 3 moves ago, but now something has happened.
Yeah, something weird happened, and Ding took on b2 and c3 incredibly quickly, so he must be very convinced this is fine. And it might just be fine. I mean, queen g6, I guess. I mean, you have to be...
Grab this pawn, f6 was played. Grab another pawn, g7 was taken. Queen c6, queen f5. Black is a pawn up, but shaky king. And queen g6 now, yeah?
Mm-hmm. I mean, white probably takes on h6, and you have to make sure you never blunder rook f1, rook f8 check. But I think bringing the bishop over to d6 should deal with this threat very, very convincingly. And if you don't take on g6, I might eventually start, thinking very seriously about just taking on g7.
So if we take what's going on, rook d7, I'm assuming égalité, or?
Yeah, I think it probably, as it often is, ends up being some kind of equality. I don't know, I play b5 or h5 or whatever. I quite like b5, just to remind white that there are things on the queen side he might eventually have to pay attention to. If you take on c7, I will put the bishop on the long diagonal and be extremely happy. Well, maybe not extremely happy, because rook b7 is still a draw, but Yeah, I don't think black risks very much here. The question
Can
is
you
whether...
just push b4 after rook takes c7? Just
Yeah,
trying
you could
to
also
run
do that, yeah, because rook b7, b3, a b,
b3,
a3 might be actually quite strong.
bishop e5, a2,
Yeah, well,
bishop
basically I
a1. Who
wanted to
knows?
win the long diagonal first to not
Right.
allow bishop 5, but you can still probably do this and then... actually, a7 is not available to the rook, right? So I can play a2, bishop a1 and something like rook but I will not be able to threaten rook d1 because rook b8 check or something. Yeah. Probably doesn't work as well for black as I thought. But bishop d4 on the previous move should just hold very comfortably. So.
Right.
Yeah. So to my eyes, currently, I think the question is, can white be worse? Because I don't think white is better.
Yeah.
There's also, yeah, I was about to mention it. Nobody will believe me now. That you can actually go kind of full greed and play rook e8 first, intending to play queen e6 instead of queen g6, trying to not even give up the pawn on h6 at all, and trying to preserve some kind of material advantage.
And if rook d7 then?
Rook d7, queen e6, yeah, that's, I think this has to be his point.
Ah, yeah, rook e8 played here. Oh.
Yeah, rook e8 is on the board, yeah.
Do you have a read on Ding? He's just a stable world number 3 right now, right? He just keeps...
Yeah.
He doesn't always rack up a lot of wins, but he rarely loses, and sometimes he wins a nice white game like yesterday.
Yeah, yesterday I think was an incredibly impressive game, and I have some support from that opinion from very respectable quarters.
Who are these quarters?
Yeah, they are extremely respectable. But yeah, I thought yesterday was a very, very well played game, and a game where I think Geary is justified in thinking, I have not really done very much wrong today.
Felt like one of those where Anish played a normal game but just had no chance somehow. Like it was
yeah. You get up from the board and you think, I did not play the bad game today at all, and yet here I am getting completely wiped off the board, and you kind of wonder. I thought yesterday was spectacular, frankly. I mean, it may have looked like you know, your sort of general, you know, workers win, but there were some parts of it which were extremely impressive, like provoking f5 and then taking on c5, ruining your structure just to have this wonderful square on d4 for the rook and control over the file, and the conversion from where he got a very good position was, I think, stellar.
Yeah, I really like this bishop b5 move.
Yeah, that was the dc5 followed by that maneuver where that was very, very impressive. And returning to his game today, yeah, Jan wastes no time taking on h6 here. I guess he is not worse now. I think his king will be sort of safer than Ding's to, you know, enough of a degree. If black is obliged to take on h6, which I'm not sure about, but I suspect he is, then queen h6, queen f2, black can take on g7, black will currently be a pawn up, but the king on g8 is so completely unsafe that you feel white always has enough counterplay for the pawn. Although, yeah, I don't know, maybe yes, maybe no. I think it's probably close to equality, but...
Draw.
Yeah. Dead draw.
Yeah, there's some discussion because we're on all the German channels, so let me briefly clear it up in the lovely German language. Falls ihr euch wundert, warum wir Englisch sprechen, Sportsfreunde, wir haben die einmalige Gelegenheit, oder vielleicht zweimalige, unseren alten Freund Peter Svidler hier in die Sendung zu bringen. Er kann immer noch kein Deutsch nach all den Jahren, außer speisekartenmäßig, da ist er gut dabei. Aber deshalb sprechen wir eine Stunde Englisch, danach sind wir wieder ganz normal auf Deutsch zurück mit Steve Berger und dem Regular Programming. But for now, we are thrilled to have Peter, and that's why we switched to English for now. I did not say anything too bad. I said your German is not excellent, but it's good enough for menus. Is that accurate?
That's the line, yeah. And somewhat surprisingly, this is a weird segue, but I just noticed that we might have one game finishing shorter than the Karakin Aronian game.
Wow.
Because Shah just played knight g2, bishop f5, knight g3.
Ah, okay. At least it's Shah that's competing with him.
Yeah, I mean they are the the Dukes of Hazard or whatever. I don't know why this is what floated up from my subconscious there. I do not have any idea at all, but yeah, I think
this would be a surprising move repetition, but it's legal.
It is a legal repetition, yeah, but I thought this was actually, I used to play this, I used to play Queen's Gambit Accepted quite seriously 20 years ago or so, and I still have some analysis left of 3-4, and I felt these are very sharp, very interesting positions, and I was kind of looking forward to them showing me something today, but I might not get my wish.
Yeah, I talked about this a bit, this bishop f5 being something of a sideline. Knight b6 and knight c6 are more popular, but it's not busted as far as I know. Like queen b3 exists, but black gets play for the pawn. So I think, yeah, you're best off doing the regular things. Here, after knight b6, actually, I was out of book.
Yeah, he could transpose to the regular things as far as I could tell, right? There was a moment, like if he goes bishop b3 on move 8, black probably plays knight c6, and we get the normal positions, right? Bishop e3, and there we go. Castle, queen d7, castle's long, white castle's short. I have really, expansive files on this position, probably completely worthless with the use of modern machines, but a lot of
expansive with an E or with an A?
With an A.
Oh.
Yeah. But that was very relevant to me at some point in my life, and at first me and my coach at the time, Andrei Lukin, and then me and Maxim and Nikita preparing for, I think, one of the candidates. We were very interested in this.
Rasmus VJ1 is asking, they only read Chess24 chat, not Twitch chat, right? I read all the chats. I read the German Chess24 chat, I read the German Chess24 DE Twitch chat, and the English Twitch chat. So we're everywhere. You can transmit your questions to Peter, or like the German chat does, they want to make you pronounce complicated long words in German.
Yeah, it will be very difficult for me if I don't see the words. And if you say them first, I will actually have... Yeah, I should probably not finish that sentence, because then you will test me and it will turn out I'm completely hopeless.
Nah, it's just simple words like Streichholzschächtelchen.
Okay, yeah. No, not gonna be able to do it. I mean, I can do a horrible approximation, but not the...
What else are they saying? 20 Zwerge machen Handstand, 10 im Wandschrank, 10 am Sandstrand. Okay, those are just... What's it called in English? Tongue twisters. Come on, guys. That's
yeah, that sounded like a tongue twister. Yeah, I can't even do them in English, I suspect, and in German I'd be all at sea.
German has all these long, beautiful words like Aufmerksamkeitsdefizit, Hyperaktivitätsstörung. But yeah, I'm not sure that's the best use of our time with Peter, even though I quite enjoy it.
No, it's very interesting. As long as I'm not invited to participate too hard, outside of smiling and occasionally laughing, I'm very happy with this.
Yeah, but once again, the people want to know what you've been up to. Where have you been? You're traveling all over the world, right? We saw each other in Amsterdam like 2.5 weeks ago, and since then, where have you gone?
Well, I've been home a bit, and I've gone on a bit of a retreat for a week, and I've just returned today from that.
Ah, but it wasn't you didn't play a chess tournament. I only knew you were on the road.
No, I did a lot of swimming.
Wow.
Which is very important for your health. So I'm happy.
Okay.
And I'll go to St. Louis in about a week to play the 960 thing.
Who are you playing? There's Kasparov is playing Fabi, and you
I'm playing
Dominic.
I'm playing Linier.
Right.
I'm playing Linier. Veselin is playing Wesley, and Hikaru is playing somebody. Let me check. Why do I not remember? Hikaru is playing Lev.
Oh, interesting as well.
Yeah.
Those guys, I'm assuming, obviously, you're on the list as well, but those guys are probably good in chess 960, right? Hikaru, Lev, Svidler, those are the names that come to mind.
I played Hikaru last year and I lost eventually. It was a reasonably close run thing until the final day, and then I kind of collapsed in a blitz session. Lev took my crown away from me in those Mainz years when we actually played 2 world championship matches. They weren't, sort of proper world championship matches, but we did play 2. I preserved my title by, I think, drawing the first one, and then I lost the second one. I think this is how it went. And I think Lev's achievement, basically to qualify, you had to win a 960 Open, which was an 11-round Swiss with like a distillation of the Mainz Open people. Like Mainz Opens were in general very strong, and I think only the best players played the 960 out of that already incredibly strong field. And Lev won 2 of those Opens. Which
I played one of those. It wasn't an easy field. It was like 100 strong grandmasters or something like that.
Yeah. Those were absolutely ridiculous. I won one myself to get to the first match, but I only won 1 and he won 2. And that actually applies to one more thing in my career. So Lev keeps on kind of taking things I've done and doing them better.
Darn you, Lev.
Yeah, exactly.
Speaking of Lev, are you following the Twitter action? There's been some heated Levon Aronian, Anish Giri barking going on.
No, I think I missed out on that. What happened?
It's a bit graphic, so apologies to our underage viewers. I'm just quoting top 10 players on Twitter here. So Anish tweeted proof that Levon Aronian prefers basketballs to ping pong balls, and then he had a screen capture of Levon's wife, Ariane, praising Levon for his big cojones for winning the 2017 World Cup. And then Levon replied, sometimes monkeys with smaller cojones compensate by shrieking more loudly, featuring a picture that had Anish standing next to an ape. So yeah, some interesting back and forth there.
That's harsh.
Yeah, I thought it was it was pretty harsh. But Anish started it, but the counter was vicious.
Yeah, I mean, Anish's thing is, you know me, I'm extremely bland where it comes to Twitter games, but I mean, you can say it's unnecessary, but it wasn't sort of malicious as far as I can tell.
That's what happens to Anish. He keeps like pushing a little bit, but normally it's not malicious, and sometimes people say, boom, time to lay down the law, and they say mean things to Anish.
He just got completely shot down there, and yeah. I somehow miss that. It's basically because we are losing the Ashes in spectacular fashion right now, and I have my cricket Twitter list up and not the chess Twitter list. Or I would have known.
Wyra Manu subscribed with Twitch Prime. All it needed was a story about monkeys' balls. Thank you.
Yeah. Welcome to the Batcave, man. We appreciate the support.
Yonek is not a fan of either Giri or Levon. What to do? Now we haven't talked about. In this context, I feel bad switching to anything. What games haven't we talked about? We haven't talked much about Anish's game against Vichy.
Yeah, because that's progressing extremely slowly. Yeah, and but it's a curious line because they got there by a very weird move order. But I used to play a lot of 6F4 Najdorfs. when I was a kid, because obviously nobody could teach me any theory, and 6 f4 was considered to be one way to kind of avoid learning too much knight of theory. And these positions are kind of dear to my heart, although not the plan with meeting b5 with b4. This I haven't seen very much.
Yeah. Yeah, I was giving my speech earlier about why you play this move order, which is reasonably simple. You allow knight takes e6, bc, e5, but if you have that worked out, and nowadays I think in correspondence people are drawing this, then if white has nothing better than knight db5, d6, bishop f4, e5, you obviously ruled out the two main tries against the Sveshnikov these days, which is 1, 3 bishop b5 and 2, 7 knight d5. So it's a cunning way to eliminate white options, and Vishy probably didn't feel like discussing any of those and played the one sideline that is respectable here, which is the move a3, forcing black into these, whatever it is. Scheveningen with an extra a3, what do you call this? I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what this is, but yeah, it's a curious thing, and I've never actually looked at this in any kind of depth, but it feels like it makes sense. And the current position is a little bit interesting because Anish played. He spent close to. People have been tanking a great deal today, because if you get to this position, yeah, exactly here, Vishy played b4, and Anish tanked for, on my screen, close to 40 minutes before playing a5.
Is this a common strategy? I was vaguely recalling Vishy once did something similar against Kasparov. I'm not sure if it was in this position.
No, not in this position, I think. But yeah, this does exist in some lines, and it's often quite smart because it actually stops a lot of your kind of stock counterplay on the queen side dead in its tracks. You don't really have much of a backup plan. And here in particular, it might be connected with bishop b2, and then white happily returns to the idea of giving mate on the king side by, I don't know, queen e1, queen g3, or maybe even knight e2, knight g3 to free up both of those Horowitz bishops, and then you play e4, e5, and you hope something breaks. So Anish thought for a very, very long time here and played a5, which is a very, very committal choice, obviously, because the opponent b5 will now need constant attention.
Yeah, just tactics-wise, bishop b5, you probably start with queen b6 check and then go ab.
Maybe even yeah, you don't want to allow knight d4.
Oh, I'll rule out knight d4. I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's very clever. Yeah, but Vishy decided not to bother, and he just played rook b1, preserving the structure for now. AB, and now the big question is what exactly is the follow-up? Do you play d5 to trade b5 for b4? But then, I mean, in general, d5 in these structures is very, very committal, because you might actually get mated. The bishop on d3 is, as the meme goes, what am I, a joke to you? And also, interestingly, rook b1 has to be one of the most obvious replies to a5, but Anish took on b4, and he's now thinking once again for a significant amount of time. So interesting.
Yeah. d5 looks consistent, but yeah, what's the move after e5? Knight e4 doesn't seem to work.
No, I think you play knight d7, and you hope that you will take on b4 with the knight, and maybe actually snipe that bishop on d3.
Like sniping.
I don't know, depending on what you take with, obviously, on b5, but like, if you take with the bishop after knight takes b4, I will have bishop a6 as a follow-up, which is, I mean, if those bishops come off, it's a very nice French, obviously. And if you take with the knight, knight takes b4 is a kind of a tempo, because you can't really allow this knight to take the bishop, so.
Yeah, there's no direct.
Yeah, as long as we don't,
attack.
like, rook before bishop h7 maybe is what he... That's actually, that kind of explains what he may have missed, quote unquote missed. Knight b5, knight b4, rook b4. And bishop h7 here. Yeah, this might end up being very bad for black very easily.
King g8, queen h5 is usually checkmate. So
yeah, and king g6 you kind of feel like you'll get mated somehow.
Something bad's gonna happen as well, yeah? I don't know what, queen d3, queen g3, or...
Even the immediate queen g4 might be... No, immediate queen g4 is less clear, yeah?
I don't know, it could come down to the same.
Yeah.
There's also
Yeah,
king
fine.
h6, but it all looks fairly miserable. Yeah?
Yeah, it doesn't feel like this is going to work particularly well for black. Uh, and yeah, this might be the reason he is now back to the drawing board. Ha ha. But yeah, what else do you play?
Pawn is hanging.
Yeah,
You can play bishop a6, but it's not the prettiest move.
No, and
Mankind
and
has
also
ever
then
seen.
white can switch to just positional play. Like I will play, I don't know, bishop d2, and if you play d5, I will always protect the pawn on b4 sufficiently, and then you're just miserable because all of your pieces are dead, and white will have a free attack on the king side. Like knight e2 here, it's panic stations basically. Like your wars everywhere.
Yeah. So it looks like something's gone a bit wrong for Anish.
Yeah, could well be, could well be.
By the way, while we're praising people, and I'm also curious about your take on this, I was very impressed with Vishy's play yesterday. And I ran it by Anish, and he said, no, not yesterday actually, with Vishy's play the last couple months, I should say. I ran it by Anish, and he said he feels something changed in Vishy, that Vishy is no longer super solid, and that somehow he's back to being the old Vishy. Have you noticed any changes there, or is that just, yeah, a stretch?
I don't know. I haven't thought about this very deeply. I generally always like to see Vishy do well, and I enjoyed him kind of pipping people to the post in the Paris Rapid and Blitz. But I can't say I noticed any kind of significant stylistic changes. I'd have to look at it somewhat closer, but that kind of defeats the purpose because I am now primed to notice some things which I may not have otherwise. But generally speaking, like if that is the case, I think it's good news for everybody. Because Vishy, when he is interested and motivated, he might not do as well as he used to in that mode because, you know, years do roll on, but it's still an exciting sight when he pushes.
Yeah, no, that's what I meant, obviously. Pretty much everybody's been praising Vishy at age 49, and the last couple of years he's been pretty much showing the boys that he can play with them any time of day, but sometimes it felt like he was sort of conserving his energy a little bit and not pushing too hard. And then the last couple of tournaments, yeah, Paris and what he's been doing here, he's just, yeah, even more impressive than he used to be. So yeah, let's see.
Yeah, I think once again, I wasn't kind of trying to compare what he's been doing recently to other stuff, but if that is the case, I think it's entirely welcome, and we should rejoice.
Absolutely. Let's get to the Fabian Biel game for a second.
Yeah, just a brief update. The Schach game did finish in a 3-fold, so man down.
No surprise. Close your eyes.
Yep.
So after c4 queen h4, Fabi played queen e1, which I think chat
was
the best move.
Yeah. Yeah, takes bishop h6, and it's also no, it's not that notable because I thought this rook b4 would just win, but bishop d2 kind of collects a full rook, so
that's an important little detail.
Yeah, so he played rook d1 instead, and I mean one option obviously is to play that move we've been discussing in a slightly different position, king d7, hoping to get the king closer to the pawns you need to protect, but there might be tactical issues with that. Because c5, d5, rook b4 might, in this particular position, might be something you have to worry about, or not. I'm not entirely sure, but it's at least a calculation. Because yeah, you can't go king c6, and even after king c7, I still want to play rook b6 and force you into some unpleasant contortions if you want to keep the shape in the center. For instance, after knight d7, I'm obviously happily returning one exchange, maybe even after bishop g5. I'm less sure about bishop g5, but maybe even here.
At the risk of being a smartest, but after knight d7, I'd also happily take the bishop. Well, you can check first.
Slightly stronger. slightly stronger than my suggested blunder of an exchange. Yeah, fair point.
But something like this, let's say bishop f4 check, king g2, knight d7,
Yeah,
rook
I
d5,
would
knight
very
d6,
seriously
cb.
consider. Yeah, takes.
Still
Let's say
pushing,
like
rook d7.
yeah, takes, and if king takes, rook d7 wins the f pawn. And if the f pawn falls, the double e pawns go nowhere, and I guess we should win. It's a bit strong, but I think we are kind of heavy favorites here to convert. I mean, the king starts running like king c5, king either d4 or b4. Maybe it's not as clear as I thought, but white is definitely better here.
Right. This is, I don't know, I always keep talking about this narrative. I'm not sure if it's always fair, but it does feel to me like MVL often against the best of the best, against the Anishes and Caruanas of the world, does get into trouble theoretically in the Najdorf. And then sometimes he uses his incredible practical skills to get out of it, but sometimes he also doesn't. Like especially Fabi. Fabi's been annoying people in all the openings with white recently.
Yeah,
he's incredibly well prepared.
Yeah, and also a little bit of a hawkish take here. I mean, a take in a form of a question is not really a take, but still. What do you think is happening with MVL recently? Because it really feels like he is not exactly himself. And one thing I kind of noticed, and I'm reasonably confident in that observation, is he appears to be struggling to get out of sort of blitz mode, even when playing classical. And it was very noticeable in the rapid, for instance. It seems like it's really hard work for him to force himself to think. And that makes mistakes obviously a lot more frequent, because he is playing against the best fields in the world, and people will punish you for not actually taking the time to make important decisions. And it feels like, you know, something kind of broke in the engine there.
I have an answer, but it's not very sexy. I think he has just played way too much in 2019, which might have been hard to avoid because of the packed schedule. But at some point I saw the number of days of breaks that he had in between events. Pretty much since March he's had one 10-day break, and other than that it's only been 2 or 3 days, which basically means traveling from event to event. So he's played, I can't even recall, but he's played Norway Chess, he's probably played Shamkir, he's played all the FIDE Grand Prix, he's played all the Grand Chess Tours. He just did not get any breaks, and it's too much chess, even for Maxiboy. I believe that's the main culprit, and combined with the fact that he has a very narrow repertoire that needs to go into maintenance between tournaments, because if you only play the Najdorf and only the Grunfeld, you want to fine-tune it to adjust it to recent trends.
Yeah,
I think has been one issue. The other, I'm not sure. I wasn't used to seeing his blitz performances because he's just so fast calculating that, yeah, seeing him collapse, even though he's been doing well in these Grand Chess Tour and blitzes, it was very strange to see him, lose 200 points in blitz.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah, I think you're correct about sort of the main explanation for the thing that we're witnessing, but also it feels like there could be something else in play. But obviously, judging from afar, it's very difficult to say whether I'm just seeing things which aren't there. But I mean, he is an unbelievably gifted chess player, and you know, if anyone can get by playing very quickly and just trusting his instincts, he will be very near the top of the list there. But it also feels that some malfunction is creeping in there.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not that close with him. My read was always that he's a happy-go-lucky guy who, in general, is quite happy with his life and confident about things. So I thought mainly overworked, but I could be wrong. I'm not sure if there's anything going on.
Yeah. So let's maybe do a brief roundup, and I'll ring off because I do feel I might.
The Germans want more of the German. No, but seriously, thanks a lot for stopping
No,
by.
no, my pleasure. You know I like doing these things. So
We like having you here.
we
So-
still have no idea what this weird two exchanges down position is. Anish ended up playing d5, which is quite interesting because he will have to justify it tactically and very soon. So that's something to watch. Like currently, and one thing that occurred to me that after e5, knight d7, I don't even have to take on b5. I can play something like bishop
Bishop
d2. Yeah, and if you take here, I will start giving mate. I don't really care about the b5 pawn. Just something like bishop d2. I like bishop d2 quite a bit. Yeah, and here I will happily switch back to the previous idea of just winning by force. Don't know if it does win, but it often does in these positions. So wouldn't be shocking to me if it does here as well. Yeah, Anish will have to, because it occurred to me that if you take on b5 in that position instead of bishop d2, if we go all the way back to that,
Gotcha.
Black could just kind of ignore the pawn on b4 and play something like, I don't know, queen b6
Bishop
check,
a6 move.
b6, yeah. I want to also rule out bishop e3, maybe. I don't know if I need to, but either immediately or after the check, yeah. And even if the pawn is not getting one back, you definitely get some standard French compensation by, I don't know, getting the rook from f8 to c4 and just, playing a positional game. So maybe he wants something like that, but Vishy is not obliged to allow it.
Yeah, dangerous game for Anish. What happened in Hikaru's game? Not that much.
Yeah, they are.
h5, h3 played.
Yeah, Magnus did put the pawn on f6 preemptively to make sure no shenanigans happen to the e5 pawn, but generally not very much. Yeah, the Karakin-Aronian game still appears to be kind of finely balanced as far as I can judge.
Yeah, you don't win these things with white. They always look scary at first sight, but it never goes anywhere.
Yeah, and Fabi did play c5 very quickly after king d7, just to return to that for a second. So this is going to become very, very sharp very soon. Because Black, I think, will have to start giving up pawns and trying to queen every other pawn, basically. Like the strategy has to be, I think you play d5, because what else do you play? Yeah, d5
already.
Yeah. And now I think rook b4 is, has to be the idea. I mean, otherwise, why have you strengthened the center? Just makes no sense. And after rook b4, now you have to find a way to start pushing really, really quickly. I don't exactly see it yet. I think it still involves something along the lines of what we already showed, but there might be something. Who knows? Like, I mean, d5, d4 would be a very strong move here if only we had a good square for the king, but we don't, because rook b6 check is just kind of crushingly strong there.
So it could come down to this endgame we were looking at now, like whatever it was, king c7, rook b6, bishop
c7
f4, king
already
g2,
played,
knight d7, rook d5, takes, something along those lines. So yeah, we'll see. Anything else noteworthy? No, that's pretty much it. So
yeah, we'll continue watching, and I'll probably, well, I'll watch for a bit, but I'm really hoping to catch up on some sleep eventually.
get some sleep. Do you have a movie recommendation before we let you go? You know,
A movie,
those are the topics are really terrible.
movie recommendation. Everybody has been extremely positive about the latest Tarantino.
I watched it. I thought it was great. At first, I wasn't that thrilled about it because it felt slow and unfocused. But then it sinks in. You know, sometimes a movie sticks with you. And yeah, it's good stuff. I liked it.
Yeah, and I regret sort of even more than I hadn't gone to watch it. I had the option of watching it when I was in St. Louis. It sort of just came out, but it was kind of late at night, and we were very tired with Olga, and I decided not to. And now I don't know if I will actually get to see it in original version. which is, I mean, I'm really hoping it still plays when I get to St. Louis, basically, is what I'm trying to say.
I'm sure you'll find a way. Yeah, it's very recommended. Anyway, thank you so much, Peter, for joining. We'll be in touch. You're even coming to Hamburg City in the distant future. And
yeah, we'll definitely be in touch, and I'm open to doing more of these as long as the Germans don't object too strenuously.
Germans, let us know. More Svidler, more German, bit of both. Svidler in German, what you want. Thank you so much, Peter. Catch you.
Yeah. Cheers.
Catch you later. Cheers.
Get better. Yeah.
Yeah.